You know that moment when a friend is about to drop a big chunk of cash on a new monitor and you can see the doubt in their eyes? They've been scrolling through endless best 6K monitor lists, watching YouTubers rave about insane pixel counts, and still aren't sure if the upgrade will actually change their day-to-day work. I felt the same way when I first heard about the LG 32U990A, especially because it's priced like a professional workstation rather than a hobbyist sidekick. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's walk through what this monitor really delivers, where it shines, and who might actually benefit from that price tag before you decide whether it's worth the spend. First off, the biggest source of hesitation for most buyers is the promise of 6K on a 32-inch panel. A 61443456 resolution translates to roughly 224 PPI, which sounds spectacular on paper, but you have to ask yourself, will you actually see that level of detail in your workflow? If you spend hours color grading 6K footage, retouching ultra-high resolution RAW files, or laying out complex motion graphics, the extra pixels give you a tangible advantage. You can spot banding, lens artifacts, or subtle color shifts that would be invisible on a 4K screen. In my own tests editing a 6K brawl on a MacBook Pro, the extra headroom let me zoom in on the timeline without the image turning into a pixelated mess. For a photographer who routinely prints large format images, that same clarity means you can assess sharpness and detail before you even hit the press. That said, if your primary use is browsing, office work, or even 1080p gaming, the jump to 6K is more of a novelty than a necessity. The monitor's 60Hz refresh rate and DisplayHDR 600 peak brightness are respectable, but they won't win you any awards in a fast-paced shooter or a HDR-heavy movie marathon. The built-in speakers are decent enough for a quick Zoom call or background music, but they won't replace a proper audio setup if you need accurate sound staging for video editing. In short, the value proposition hinges on how much you'll actually leverage the ultra-high pixel density and the color-accurate Nano IPS panel. Now, let's talk about the connectivity that most people overlook until they try to set it up. The LG 32U990A is marketed as the world's first 6K monitor with Thunderbolt 5. In practice, that means a single cable can deliver 40 gigabits per second of data, power your laptop, and drive the full 6K signal without any extra adapters. I connected a recent 2024 MacBook Pro using the supplied Thunderbolt 5 cable, and everything from the desktop background to a 6K DaVinci Resolve timeline streamed flawlessly. No flicker, no drop frames, and the laptop stayed charged the entire session. For a creator who already runs a single cable workflow, that eliminates a tangled mess of HDMI, DisplayPort, and power bricks. It also enables daisy-chaining. Plug another compatible monitor into the downstream port and you can run a dual display setup with just one cable to your workstation. That's a hidden time saver that most spec sheets gloss over. However, the Thunderbolt 5 advantage comes with a caveat: you need a device that actually supports Thunderbolt 5 to unlock the full bandwidth. Plugging the monitor into an older USB-C port or a standard HDMI 2.1 connection will still work, but you'll be limited to lower resolutions or reduced color depth. In my testing with a high-end desktop GPU, HDMI 2.1 capped the output at 4K at 120 Hz, which is fine for gaming but defeats the purpose of a 6K panel. So, if your workstation isn't equipped with a Thunderbolt 5 compatible port, you either need to upgrade your hardware or accept that you won't be using the monitor at its native resolution. Another practical aspect is ergonomics. The stand offers tilt, height, and pivot adjustments, which feels essential when you're staring at a densely packed screen for hours. The pivot function lets you rotate to portrait mode, a feature I found surprisingly useful for coding or reading long articles. Text stays at a comfortable line length, and you can still see a full page of a PDF without constant scrolling. The height range accommodates both sitting and standing desks, so you can